Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is your midweek motivation, and I am and forever will be your host, Deborah Garr Davis. As always, I thank God for the opportunity to sit before you, and I also thank Him for you coming in and being so kind to come in and listen to what is being said as I work towards encouraging, motivating, and inspiring you as well as myself. I want you to keep in mind that what we do here is just that. And I am just grateful for the opportunity. Listen, I'm not going to be here long tonight, but I want to make a point about something that has been pondering in my mind. And it was just so ironic that I got into a conversation in regards to generations of generations and the different things that these generations have been tagged with in regards to who they are. And so I was reminded that my parents were those of what is called the silent generation. That generation was born between 1928 and 1945. But the silent generation was called that because they were considered to be very resilient and well disciplined. Then you come along and you have the following generation from 1946 to 1964, which I am a part of that. We are known as the baby boomers. Now, the baby boomers are actually pinned as the hard workers and those that actually valued stability. Yes, I can state that I am definitely that person. And then the generation after that is Generation X, 1965 to 1980. And this is the time in which my children were born. And they are pinned as those who show independence, yet at the same time are very skeptical. They are also entwined with personal communication. Then following Generation X, we now have the millennials, 1981 to 1996. Now, your millennials are those that were tech savvy and they actually love social media. But then you walk into Generation Z, 1997 to 2012. Now, this generation is part of the digital natives. They are digital natives. In other words, they were born during the tech enhancement. And so now we go into Generation Alpha, 2013 to the current year. And they were born with digital connection and sensory play. Listen, we see it, we know it, it is true. Each description describes exactly these particular generations. And my question is, who is the now generation? That's my question tonight. Who is the now generation? Timothy, 1 Timothy 4 and 12 says, let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. God bless you, Bishop Davis, for coming on this evening. Sister Taisha, thank you so much. Ecclesiastes 3 and 1 says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Listen, every generation believes that it is standing at its most critical moment in history. There's always something that goes on historically within these generations. Yes, it is true. Life goes on. Things do happen. But every generation, we know that there's something different. They have been labeled, as we stated, and we've seen the progression going into the technological, robotic AI state. Again, who is the now generation? We are not talking about the age brackets. We are not talking about culture, wars, or digital trends. I'm not even talking about anything that's real, real deep. But what we are talking about is the now generation. The now generation, it is not defined by your birth year. It is defined by spiritual awareness. It is made up of people who actually recognize that this moment actually matters. It is composed of those who understand that destiny does not live in yesterday and purpose cannot wait until tomorrow. The enemy actually loves us to be delayed. Of course, nothing gets done. Fear loves procrastination. And we have to understand that purpose lives in the now. So when Paul writes to Timothy in 1 Timothy 4 and 12, he is speaking to a young leader that is navigating through pressure, through criticism, through insecurities, and expectation. Timothy could have waited, true. He could have hidden from everyone. He could have deferred his calling until he felt older, wiser, and more accepted. But instead, Paul tells him, don't let anyone despise your youth. Be the example now. There is something powerful about a generation that refuses to postpone obedience. That now generation is not asking, when will my time come? They are actually saying, this is my time. And here's the revelation. The now generation is not just young people. It is anyone who has decided that today is the day that they stop shrinking, stop hiding, and stop waiting. You can be 25 and be a part of the now generation. You can be as old as 80 and still be a part of the now generation. Because God does not operate in decades, he actually operates in obedience. So the question becomes, who is the now generation? Let's talk about it. The now generation refuses to be defined by delay. See, psychologically, delay actually it creates doubt. Spiritual, Spiritually, delay can weaken our confidence. And emotionally, delay can produce us to start comparing ourselves to others. We live in a culture that actually supports postponement. Oh, I'll start when I'm ready. Well, I'll serve when things calm down. Well, I'll step out when I feel qualified. Uh, I'll forgive when they apologize. But Ecclesiastes tells us there is a time for every purpose under heaven. We must notice this. It does not say there is a perfect time. It says there is a time. The now generation understands that preparation does not require perfection. They don't allow past mistakes to freeze them. The now generation, they don't listen to let other people's opinions silence them. They do not allow social media comparisons to actually intimidate them. They recognize that obedience is stronger than insecurity. Psychologically, they move from paralysis to participation. Spiritually, they move from hesitation to activation. The now generation says, I may not know everything, but I know enough to take that next step. And here's the truth. Delay often disguises itself as wisdom, but sometimes it is fear wearing a reasonable outfit. The now generation can discern the difference. See, the now generation leads by example and not excuses. Paul told Timothy, be an example in word, conduct, in spirit, faith, and purity. Notice he didn't say demand respect. He said demonstrate maturity. The now generation does not wait for validation before they demonstrate value. Good evening, Tracy. Good to see you. In a culture that rewards noise, they actually model integrity. And in a culture that rewards image, they model character. In a culture that rewards outrage, they model love. So psychologically, they understand influence is earned through consistency. And spiritually, they understand that leadership begins internally before it manifests itself externally. You see, that now generation speaks life even when there's a negative trend. They practice discipline even when a distraction becomes available. They actually choose faith even when doubt is popular. And they actually know that example is louder than an explanation. You do not have to argue your calling when your conduct confirms it. And here's the deeper layer. Example requires alignment. Word and action must agree. Faith and behavior must connect. So the now generation may not be perfect, but they are doing what they do on purpose. They don't say, that's just who I am. They don't say, this is who I'm becoming. What they do is display maturity. They show that in their movement. That is the now generation. So the now generation understands urgency without panic. There is a difference between urgency and anxiety. See, anxiety actually rushes, and urgency responds. So the now generation feels the weight of the moment, but they do not crumble under it. They understand time is valuable, purpose is fragile, and opportunity is seasonal. But they also understand that panic produces poor decisions. So what do? They anchor themselves spiritually. They pray before they post anything. They think before they react. They seek wisdom before they respond. See, one of the things we know that we are, it is an action and a reaction. And we don't give ourselves those split second moments to think about what we need to do. Sometimes we are moving so fast, we have forgotten to count the cost. We have forgotten to think everything through. But we are that now generation that is moving and constantly trying to work towards getting things done. They understand, yes, they do, that panic can produce poor decisions. So they anchor themselves, as I stated before, spiritually. So psychologically, they regulate emotion. Spiritually, they trust God's timing while honoring present responsibility. Urgency says this matters, but panic says if I don't control it, it will fall apart. The now generation chooses trust over control. They move with conviction and not chaos. And here is one of the things that I like. They are not waiting on revival. They are becoming it. See, this is old things have passed away. So now we are waiting on the change, and they are initiating those changes. They understand that transformation does not begin in systems, it begins in the heart. And the heart can change now. So here we are. Who are the now generation? Ask yourself this. Where have I been postponing my obedience? Where have I allowed my fear to disguise itself as patience? Where am I waiting for permission that God has already granted me? I'm not going to waste today. I don't need a new platform. I don't need a louder voice. I don't need any more applause. What we need is the alignment. So we're going to start because we are that now generation. We're going to serve now. We're going to forgive now. We are going to build now. We are going to heal now. And we are going to speak life now. And we're going to step out right now. The now generation is not waiting for perfect conditions. They are cultivating purpose in the present condition that they are in. So, because you and I both know that faith without movement becomes nothing but a hypothesis, it's a theory. But faith with action will become a legacy. I told you before, legacy is not about the tangible things that you can touch. It is about what you leave in spirit, in wisdom, words of wisdom that that person can put in their library. And when something comes up, they can reach up there as a reference and say, I remember when my grandmother told me this or that. I remember as a child when I got sick, my mother would make this concoction and give it to me, and it still stands good today, baby. Lemon honey, oh yes it does. And it will work on a good cold. That's a legacy because you are transferring things that can be continuously, as they say, sustainable goods. Let's put it like that. It is regenerated over and over and over. We are going to refuse the now generation. We are refusing delay. It's time out for the if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. We are the now generation, and we are moving without panic. And it is that the people who understand that today carries a divine weight. We have to remember the cross was not postponed, and Calvary was not delayed. Jesus did not say, I'll come back when they are more appreciative. No. He stepped into the now. And because he stepped into the now, we have redemption today. So the real question is not who are they? The real question is, will you be a part of the now generation? This is your season. This is your moment. This is your now. I praise God for you being here, and I thank you for listening. And I hope that something you can take away from what was said to keep you motivated to move forward and stay a part of this now generation. As always, I need you to stay focused, stay driven, and stay true to yourself. And remember, I love you, God loves you, and there is nothing that you can do about it. God bless you.